Hello friends, I am Rajaneesh Chandran. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to study about engineering graphics, particularly the topic projection of solids. So in the previous video, we have learned about the projection of a pentagonal pyramid when it is resting on the ground with one of its corners. Right. In this video, we are going to study about the projection of say pentagonal pyramid when it is placed on one of its base edges on the ground. So it is the basic difference between this video and the previous video, and I insist you to watch this video only after watching the previous video. That will be easier to you. So the problem you can see in your screen right now. Draw the projections of a pentagonal pyramid of side 25 and height 60 mm. If it is resting on one of its base edges on the ground with its axis inclined at 30 degree with HP and top view of the axis is inclined at an angle of 45 degree with the V. So the problem is, draw the projection of a pentagonal pyramid when it is resting off side 25 and height 60, when it is resting on one of its base edges on the ground with the axis is inclined at an angle 30 degree with the HP and 45 degree with the V. So it is clear that the pentagonal pyramid is resting on one of its base edges on the right side. So I have already told in the previous video what we have learned is it was resting on one of its corners of the pyramid on the ground. So the corner must be on the right side. In this problem, since it is given that it is resting on one of its base edges, in the simple position we can see a pentagon with one of its base edges on the right side. So this will be the simple position. Now you can see that the base edge is on the right side. So in the top view you can see the pentagon with the base edge on the right side. So we can start with the simple position where you can see the pentagon with its base edge on the right side. Why the base edge is on the right side? Because it is given that the pentagonal pyramid is resting on one of its base edges, but in the previous problem it was given that it is resting on one of its corners. So in the previous problem we have draw the pentagonal pyramid with one of its corner on the right side, but in this question, since the base edge is on the right side, or since it is resting on one of its base edges, the base edge should be on the right side. So this will be the simple position. This is the top view. In the top view you can see the pentagon with the base edges on the right side. So we can start from here. 25 at an angle of 108, another 25, another 25, and we can complete the pentagon. We can name this as A, B, C, D, E, and also from this corner draw a line to the midpoint of this side. From this corner draw a line to the midpoint of this side, so that you get the center here. So O1 draw the X line. We can complete the simple position, the front view also. So this will be B dash, comma A dash. C and E will be on the same line. So C dash, E dash. This will be D dash. Here it will be O dash, and at the height of 60. At the height of 60, you can see O dash. So complete the front view. And the axis. So the simple position has been completed. Now it is given that the axis is inclined at an angle 30 degree with HP, right? We know that the axis means O1 dash O2 dash. So O1 dash O2 dash is inclined at an angle 30 degree. I have already told the easier method is whenever the axis is inclined at a particular angle, the easiest method is make the front view, the base of the front view at an angle 90 minus the inclination of the axis. So if axis is inclined at an angle theta, the base will be inclined at an angle 90 minus theta. So we can utilize this property and we can give inclination of the front view since the axis is inclined at an angle 30 degree, we can draw as the base is inclined at an angle 90 minus 30, that is equal to 60 degree. So, select a point. This is B dash comma A dash. Draw a line at an inclination of 60 degree. Mark B dash here. Similarly, mark C dash B dash here, and also mark O dash. Now we know that this height is 60, so draw a perpendicular at a distance of 60. That will be our O2 dash. So the front view has been reproduced here at an inclination of the axis is inclined at an angle 30 degree. So mark this also. Actually, this is the given value. So now the axis is inclined at an angle 30 degree, but the method for drawing when the axis is inclined at 30 means the base will be inclined at an angle 60 degree. So you can mark here as 60 degree and you have to mark here as 30 degree because this is the given dimension. That should have been marked. Now we know that draw the projector through B dash, through C dash D dash, through O1 dash, through B dash D dash, as well as through O2 dash. Now project B here, so this will be our B. Project C, so this will be our C. A, this will be our A. This will be our E. This will be our D. This will be our O1. See, D, O1 and O2 will be on the same straight line if we are drawing it properly. Now, connect AB, BC, CD, DE and EA. Connect to O2E, O2A, O2B, O2C and O2B. All these lines should be connected with the thin lines using 2 edge pencils. Now, we are going to check the visibility. The first condition is boundary will be visible. So, this will be visible. This is a part of boundary will be visible. This is a part of boundary so that it will be visible. This is also a part of boundary will be visible. Then this is, since it is a part of boundary, that also will be visible. Now the second rule is, we are observing from here. See, now this is like this, right? So, when we are observing from here, the apex is nearer. And we know that when the apex is nearer to the observer, base will be invisible. See, we are observing from here, that's why we are projected from here, that's why we are projecting from there. So, since the apex is nearer to the observer, base will be invisible. That is our rule. So, apex is nearer, so base will be invisible. So, this portion, the variance portion of the base will be invisible. So, these edges will be invisible. Now, the third point is the nearer edge will be visible in the opposite projection. See, O2 dash D dash is nearer, so that will be visible in the opposite projection. That means this edge will be visible. So that should be dark. Similarly, the farther edge will be invisible. See, here the farther edges are O2 dash B dash and O2 dash A dash. That will be invisible. So, the visibility also has been checked that here we have to mark O1 O2 as an axis, but since it coming below the thick edge, that should not be marked. So, the second inclination, the first inclination, that means the axis is inclined at 30 degree has been completed. Now, we are moving to the second inclination, that means the inclination to VP. In the question it is given that the top view of the axis is inclined at an angle 45 degree with the VP. See, this is the axis O1 dash O2 dash. The top view of the axis means this is O1 and this is O2. So this is the top view, and it is given that the top view of the axis is inclined at an angle 45 degree with the VP. So what we have to do is, at an inclination of 45 degree, at an inclination of 45 degree, draw a line. At an inclination of 45 degree, draw a line. And on that line, we have to reproduce this image, keeping the axis, top view of the axis on onto at an angle of 45 degree. So what will be the method? The easier method is, see, select this point O1, select any point on that line and mark as O1, take this much distance and that point can be marked as O1. So our O1 and O2 has been marked. O1 and O2 has been marked. See, by doing that, you can see that this line intersects a point here as well as here. So if we can take this distance and mark here, we will get a point that is D. So the point D also has been indicated. Similarly, we can mark this point here. Now we know that if we can draw a perpendicular line like this through this point, like this. This is a perpendicular that is similar to this line, and on that line we can take this distance here also. So we can take 2 points. That points will be our A, right? I hope you have understood. See, this is a point. That point can be marked here. A similar point can be marked here. And on that point, draw a perpendicular because this is perpendicular. So draw a perpendicular there, like this 2 distance, mark there so that we can obtain A and B. Similarly, see, through this O1, if we can draw a perpendicular like this, on that perpendicular we can measure this value and that can be marked as E, and we can also take this value and we can mark as C. Now we have obtained the point C as the last point. There are a lot of methods for reproducing this image to another 45 degree line, but this is the most easier method. This is the best method, and this is what I am following for last 15 years. So we have to reproduce this image here. So what will be the visible edges? That should be visible here. What are the invisible edges? That also should be invisible here. So we can reproduce like this. So now this image has been reproduced here by keeping the top view of the axis on onto at an inclination of 45 degree. Now we know that draw projector through E, projector through D, projector through C, B, projector through E, now this is B dash and A dash. So this point will be our B dash and this point will be our A dash. This will be C dash, this will be E dash, this will be our D dash, this will be our O dash, this will be O2 dash. So the corresponding points are marked here. Now connect AB, BC, CD, DE and EA. Connect O to A, O2 dash to E dash, O2 dash to D dash, O2 dash C dash as well as O2 dash. All these edges should be drawn using 2H pencil very lightly. Because once you have obtained all the edges, then checking of the visibility will be easy. Now we know that the first rule is the base borders will be visible. So this is a part of border, so it will be visible. This is a part of border, it will be visible. This is also a part of border, that will be visible. This will be visible, and this is visible. So since all these are part of border, that is visible. Second rule is, we are observing from here. Since you are observing from here, you can see that the apex is nearer to the observer, and since the apex is nearer to the observer, base will be invisible. So this is a part of base that will be invisible. This is also a part of base, so that also will be invisible. So that is invisible. Now the third point is, we are observing from here, the nearer edge will be visible in the opposite projection. So the nearer edge is O2C. So O2C is visible, will be visible in the opposite projection. So that will be visible. So make that also. Now two edges are remaining. One is O2B and O2E. So the near edge O2C is visible and the farther edge will be invisible. So you can see that the farther edge is O2E, so that will be invisible. So here O2 dash E dash will be invisible. So O2 dash E dash is also become invisible. Now one more edge is remaining. See, O2 dash E dash is remaining, that its visibility we have to check, right? So since we are observing from here, O2C is nearer, that is visible, and O2E is farther, that became invisible. So what about O2 dash? So now we are going to the fourth condition. The condition is, if O2 dash A dash and O2 dash C dash are visible, and O2 dash B dash will be visible, because in alphabetical order O2 dash B dash is lying in between O2 dash A dash and O2 dash C dash. So since O2 dash B dash is lying in between O2 dash A dash and O2 dash C dash in the alphabetical order, O2 dash B dash will be visible. So at the same time, you might ask, or you will have a doubt, that is, O2 dash B dash is visible, O2 dash A dash is visible. In the alphabetical order, O2 dash E dash is lying in between O2 dash D dash and O2 dash A dash. Then why O2 dash E dash is invisible? That's a very good doubt. The reason is, see, for all these conditions there are a step by step, these conditions are applying in a step by step manner. The first step is boundary will be visible. The second step is the base, if the base apex is here or base will be invisible. If the third step is the nearer edge will be visible and the far edge will be invisible. After applying all these conditions, now only we can apply this condition with the alphabetical order. So there is a route and we have to apply all these conditions in the specific route. So now after applying all these conditions, now this O2 dash E dash became already invisible. So there is no need of checking whether O2 dash E dash is visible or not, because it is already invisible, became the part of an invisible edge. So the only edge remains is O2 dash B dash. And we know that O2 dash B dash is lying in between O2 dash A dash and O2 dash C dash. So O2 dash B dash will become this. And this is a part of axis. Axis can be marked as a now, see, this is dimension is to be marked. This is 25 and the height is 60. So I hope all of you have understood this problem, where the pentagonal pyramid is resting on one of its base edges is on the right side, with the axis is inclined at an angle with respect to HP, and the top view of the axis is inclined at an angle with respect to So I hope all of you have understood this problem. So in the next question we will be discussing the same problem with a small difference. The difference is in the second inclination. That means here the inclination of the axis, the top view of the axis is inclined at 3p. In the next video we will be discussing what are the alterations we have to do when the axis is inclined with an angle with respect to axis is inclined with an angle with respect to p. So that we will be discussing in the next video. So please subscribe the channel.